Hello again, and welcome to PaintersBlock. I'm your host, Anthony Ryden, and today we'll be going over our color shifting paints, a few different series. Going to go over the Vallejo airbrush ones, but we're not going to use airbrush, and we're going to use the Chameleon Flakes and the Halo powder. Now here you can see that we have our one side completed, our finished side. And it's really pretty fast to do. I found a nice way to use all these color shifting paints and a dry brush and some of the AIRBRUSH earth wash to make some nice metal tones that are just a little bit different. You can bring it to the board and no one else is going to really have it, and it'll shimmer this steel sky blue. And this is the unfinished side. As you can see, it's just lead belcher. And then when you come over to here, you can see that the color is slightly different. It's kind of hard to tell on this camera. I have my phone camera, so not too easy, but I'm going to bring it up close, and you can see this halo effect from the halo powder. It's the rainbow right there. You can kind of see it, and with your natural eye, you can see it a lot better. On camera, it's a little harder to tell, but when you get the light in the right angle, you can see it. Now, number one, make sure you have a wet palette. Now, if you don't have a wet palette, I'm going to send you a link to my favorite place, and then you're going to need a bunch of brushes, a 2, 3, 4, 5, a dry brush from your local CVS. That's going to be great. And then a makeup smudge brush. You'll get that with your halo powder. A Brilliant Shine gloss is going to be definitely necessary for all the Chameleon Flakes. And halo powder is going to be what we use for that rainbow shimmer. Gunmetal is going to be what we dry brush all over the metal at first to give us some layering. And the Chameleon Flakes, we're going to use the entire set, so we're going to use all 5 of them. And they all have a bunch of different kind of tones. And then we're going to use our Vallejo color shifting paints to coat our legs a little bit, just so you can see a slight shimmer. We're going to go over how to make extreme and subtle changes. AIRBRUSH earth wash is going to be what we use to make the shift in color for the metal for the different parts, so that we can break it up. So now we're going to move on to the first step, which is going to be grabbing the gunmetal and grabbing your makeup application brush and then just dry brushing this everywhere. Now the step with dry brushing is, when you dry brush, you don't want to do this where you're going back and forth. No, you want to go up and down, up and down. Yes, up and down good, back and forth bad. It's going to reflect the way light works and give you more natural highlights. And you're just going to do this everywhere. You're going to go up and down. Then you're going to grab the first one. The green gold to cold blue. That's going to be our first step. So you're just going to put a lot of it on your wet palette because the brush is going to soak up quite a bit of it. It's the consistency of milk. So it is not really made for dry brushing, but we're just using this in a different way than it's intended. We don't want to overpower everything. We're going to actually want to put an underlying layer of a color shift, so you barely notice that something's happening. Sure to turn it around and get inside the legs too, because the light will go inside of there a bit. And now that you're done with that, we're going to move on to our next step. And if it's not dry enough, just grab a hair dryer and just dry it up a bit. That's what I do, or your heat gun. And then we're going to grab our next one. The green silver blue. Now I picked this one because it's going to shimmer a little bit of that green, but it's going to still pop with our old cold blue that we used with that silver blue. And it's going to blend it all together in this undercoat and actually help our halo effect later. It doesn't seem very important, but it actually really helps, especially with the natural lighting and with your natural eye. And then we're going to grab our AIRBRUSH earth wash, and we're going to wash it down about 50-50. I'd say about 45 to 65, or 55, because I put just a tad bit more water in there. And I'm just going to go around and find these little areas that will help separate the leg from each part and give us a little bit more of a 3-dimension, a little bit more something fun to look at. And also just making sure that I have the other side to look at in case I need to keep everything balanced. When you have 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 of anything, and you need everything to be balanced, you need to make sure to look back and forth and keep an eye on what you've done before. Just like I'm doing here. So yep, just go in there and we're gonna grab all of these areas and give them a little bit of this shade. Now with this Agrax Earth Wash the way it is, and with all of these different tones, that's why we're getting this different tint in our metal rather than just a nice wash that should go in the creases and cause shadow. And that is what we're going for. We're going for more of a dye effect, or inking. And we're just going in, finding all these little areas to break it apart. I've kind of thought of it as these are the moving parts of the leg that are working a bit more, so they're actually made with some material that are a little bit tougher than the rest, and the rest are more like this magical alloy steel blue or sky steel. Pretty cool. Well, you're just gonna go in there and you're gonna get these little leg parts, and keeping in mind that we're gonna put more and more towards the bottom, towards the feet, because as we get towards the feet and towards the ground, we're going to create more of a realistic dirtying effect by layering more of this dirty material towards the bottom. And you can see when you look around and you find old weathered houses or old just buildings around your neighborhood or your cities, just give it a look and just see how at the bottom of these houses there's actually a tint different than the rest of the house, and it's just like dirtier. And then also look at the middle of the walls, because the middle of the walls are usually brighter than the outside edges, which is not necessarily how you would normally highlight or shade anything else, but it does work that way with large buildings and such. So it's just something interesting and nice to go look around the city with, or for. Now you're going to grab your gunmetal, and you're just going to tap all of these bolts, these nuts and bolts, because it's going to pop from all of these layers that we just painted over our metal, and bring back that nice highlight of the steel. Even though it's gunmetal, it's actually going to look really shiny comparative to what we just painted. I'd just like to take a moment out of your time to please remind you to, if you like what we're doing here, like and subscribe and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, and here on YouTube. It really helps the channel and lets us get more content out to you. Thank you so much, and make sure to hit that notification bell as well. Now this step is pretty important. Just make sure to take your time with it because it helps give more three-dimension realism to your model. Just adding these little shining effects to the model, to the nuts and bolts, to all the little details. And just go ahead and make sure to hit every little spot. I almost forgot to get the little in-betweens, so I want to make sure to grab that. There you have it, and I'm pretty much done with the highlights. Onto the favorite and probably most challenging part, adding the Chameleon Flakes to the all the pipes and the tubes and all of these, what I imagine are moving what would normally be motor oil, but since we are making a cosmic titan, I'm imagining he is pushing more cosmic space, more dark matter through his tubing. So I need to make more galactic swirl inside of his tubing, or at least make it look like that type of energy is swirling through. So I'm going to make a blend of these Chameleon Flakes with the varnish or the gloss, and I'm going to put it all over these tubes. And we're going to see what it looks like. And I kind of like it at the end. It makes a different feel. It does make a whole different texture to it. It's right here. I've already done it on one side, as you can see. It makes a different texture, just as a disclaimer, but it really looks really cool, especially when you're looking at it with some reflective light. You can see it just pumping the same color as your nebulas, so it really just pulls the whole piece together. So here we go. I'm just going to get in there and start applying. Now make sure to grab a bad brush that you have, a junk brush. I had one that had dried paint on it from when I let one of my friends use it and he forgot to clean it. So I just used that, and it works perfectly for glitter application because most likely you're going to ruin this brush. Now I start with the deep blue and I move over to the lighter green and then move over to the red spectrum. And I'll give you the names right now. It's the blue to fuchsia, the silver red to green, and then I use the light purplish red to yellow. Now onto the halo powder application, and I'm going to put a link onto everything I used earlier into the description below, including this. But you're just going to grab your makeup smudger and the halo powder, and you're just going to apply in circle motions over the top part of this leg and over any of the top regions where you want to see this halo effect. I just picked really the leg and a little bit of the surface areas on the bottom, but mostly this top part of the hip. And you just kind of keep going and applying a little bit more, smudging a little bit more, and sometimes I wipe some off with my finger until you start seeing this halo effect with your eye. And it's just that simple. You just put it on until you see it. I'm going to grab a light over and try to show you. I can kind of see it with my eye, but I couldn't catch it in the camera. So I'm going to actually just try to grab some. There you go, there's a little bit right there. You see it catch a tiny bit on this side. There you go. So, but I think it's not quite enough, so I'm going to just keep on going. Get a little bit more, brush some more. And it feels like powder at first when you put it on, and then when you wipe it off, and it'll make it feel a little bit better. It does leave a little texture. If you want your models looking nice and smooth, I wouldn't recommend using this powder, but if you don't mind there being texture to your models, then this powder makes a pretty cool effect, especially if you just use it in certain areas. And well, there's the finished product with all of the armor pieces we've already painted applied, and just to see what it all looks like pieced together. Oh yeah, there we go. Those cosmic tubes pulling all of the aura together, piecing all the armor in with the mechanical pieces, all the moving robot. And how simple making all of the armor separate from each other is. It didn't take long at all. The hardest part was doing the tubing. Thank you for spending your time with us on PaintersBlock. If you enjoyed your time here and learned anything new, please leave a like and subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'm going to be moving our video posting to every 3 days. It's just been a little much on me. But thank you very much, and hope to see you again soon. If you had any questions, please leave a comment or question below.